The first human ship vanished before the echo of the vote had finished crossing Morrow Scar. Rel Asan watched its silhouette collapse on his particle display. One moment the evacuation carrier hung against the neutrino rain as a dark absence the length of a city district. The next, the Harrowline folded around it, the shadow narrowed to a thread, and empty space rushed back in. No explosion. No flare. No wreckage. Just absence. Behind Rel, the council transmission continued from the bridge speakers. Membership privileges suspended. Human settlements within protected jurisdictions are to be vacated according to the withdrawal schedule already transmitted. Rel muted it. He had heard enough. Every species in council space had spent the last several days hearing enough. Earth had been banished by vote. The phrase sounded cleaner than what was happening outside his rescue cutter. Beyond the forward canopy floated an entire civilization in motion. Human transports waited in disciplined columns around Morrow Scar, agricultural barges, passenger carriers, factory ships, hospital tenders, old freighters whose hulls had been reinforced until their original manufacturers would not have recognized them. None were firing weapons. None were broadcasting protests. They were simply leaving. Rel's fingers tightened around his flight controls. That was the first. His co-pilot, an Orishal named Vayor, checked the transit ledger. The first full civilian carrier. Rel looked again at the place where it had been. How long until it comes back? Vayor turned one black eye toward him. It doesn't. Rel frowned. The Harrowline is a transit corridor. A one-way transit corridor at this phase. I know what the charts say. Then why did you ask? Because charts were abstractions. Because an evacuation timetable was an abstraction. Because the council's banishment order had felt like politics. Outside, politics had become motion. A docking alert flashed on Rel's side panel. A human shuttle had requested attachment. He approved. Several moments later, the hatch opened and Lena Akafer entered carrying a narrow metal case beneath one arm. Rel had met her earlier that cycle. Human. Departure navigator. Short dark hair. Gray transit uniform. No visible rank decoration, beyond a small geometric patch near her collar. She had not once complained about the vote. Rel found that irritating. He would have preferred anger. Anger was comprehensible. Lena placed the case on his navigation table. You're still assigned to observation and rescue coverage. Yes. Then you need one of these. She opened the case. Inside rested a palm-sized object made of overlapping metallic leaves. Rel leaned closer. It looked almost embarrassingly primitive. What is it? A sheer bloom. You navigate mass transit through gravitational fracture zones using a flower. It doesn't navigate anything. Lena lifted the device. Its leaves were tightly folded, forming a smooth metal bud. When the local gradient crosses irreversible commitment, it opens. Your computers already measure that. Yes. So why carry this? Computers can lose synchronization. Sensors can disagree. Software can fail. The bloom doesn't care what the navigation system believes. She placed it in his hand. It was heavier than it looked. And after it opens, Rel asked. It stays open. You reset it manually. No. Replace the actuator. No actuator. Rel looked at her. You throw it away. Usually we keep it. That seems wasteful. Lena almost smiled. Humans keep a lot of things other species consider wasteful. Rel placed the bloom beside his controls. Across the scar, another human convoy began accelerating. His display showed the neutrino rain flowing continuously through the region, an invisible storm translated by the cutter's instruments into pale moving grains. Every ship blocked a portion of that particle field. Every vessel existed on the display as a moving hollow. The next human carrier reached the Harrowline. Its shadow stretched, bent, then disappeared. Rel glanced toward Lena. Your people started quickly. We were ordered to leave. The council provided a withdrawal period. The Harrowline didn't. Rel turned. What does that mean? It means the political deadline and the safe transit window aren't the same thing. Lena pulled up a projection of Morrow Scar. Layers of gravitational distortion crossed one another like translucent fabric. The corridor is widening right now. Later it becomes unstable. After that, moving this many civilian ships through it becomes dangerous. The council can extend the deadline. The Scar cannot. Rel studied her face. Humans expect the vote to stand. We don't base evacuation safety on expectations. You could appeal. We did. And you watched the vote. Another human vessel disappeared. Then another. Rel looked at the little metal bloom beside his hand. Closed. Waiting. The council expected the humans to slow down. They didn't. By the next duty rotation, the human departure lanes reached beyond the range of Rel's naked vision. Morrow Scar had become a choreography of controlled movement. Human traffic coordinators transmitted route changes in calm, clipped bursts. Rescue craft drifted between convoys. Tugs moved disabled ships away from the transit axis. Cargo barges rotated through inspection zones. Nothing looked like panic. That unsettled Rel more than panic would have. He had seen evacuations. He had responded to reactor failures, moonquakes, orbital collisions, and pirate raids. Evacuations were noise. Families argued. Captains demanded priority. Officials changed instructions faster than ships could obey them. The humans behaved as if every argument had happened somewhere else, long before the ships reached Morrow Scar. Rel's observer reports began accumulating unanswered questions. Why were civilian formations already finalized? Why had human medical ships been distributed across every departure column? Why had navigation officers prepared redundant local maps that required no council network access? Why were old industrial ships carrying emergency habitat modules instead of commercially valuable machinery? His first report described the evacuation as unusually disciplined. His second called it strategically organized. His third used a phrase he immediately regretted. Prepared before political necessity was confirmed. Within an hour, council security requested clarification. Rel ignored the message until Corvin Ash contacted him directly. The politician appeared above the communications projector, wearing the bronze mantle of the Council Coalition office. Rel had seen Ash during the banishment debate. Smooth voice. Controlled posture. Always able to make a sentence sound reasonable while cutting someone out of a future. Asan. Minister. Your reports suggest the humans anticipated the ruling. My reports suggest they understand evacuation. That is not the same thing. No. Do you believe their departure speed is intended to pressure the council? Rel looked through the canopy. A human hospital vessel was turning toward the Harrowline. Behind it, 3 smaller transports maintained perfect spacing. I haven't seen evidence of political theater. They are evacuating faster than required. They are evacuating according to the corridor. Ash's jaw tightened. The council established the schedule. Morrow Scar didn't read it. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Ashk leaned toward the projector. There is already discussion of modifying certain restrictions. Then modify them. These things require procedure. Rel almost looked toward the sheer bloom. It still sat closed beside his controls. Human ships are crossing while you procedure. The banishment was never intended to cause unnecessary suffering. Rel heard himself laugh once. Ashk's expression cooled. You find that amusing? No, Minister. You are there as a neutral observer. I am there as rescue support. Then observe, do not interpret. The transmission ended. Vayor looked across the cockpit. You enjoyed that. I did not. You absolutely did. Rel returned to the particle display. He had spent most of his career believing governments moved slowly because important decisions deserved care. For the first time, he wondered what happened when the thing being decided did not wait. Lena returned later carrying route amendments. She looked exhausted. Your departure rate increased. We lost part of the safe margin. To what? Enhalari activity. Rel sat upright. Confirmed. Scout signatures beyond the eastern debris band. The Enhalari were not council members. They were raiders who operated between jurisdictions, attacking isolated traffic and withdrawing before organized fleets arrived. Cowards according to politicians. Pragmatists according to everyone who had survived them. Rel studied the tactical layer. The council patrol group is still here. It was reduced this morning. Why? You'd have to ask the council. Rel already knew. The official reason would be that human evacuation escorts remained numerous enough to discourage attack. Human escorts. Protecting an evacuation caused by the council. He hated the sentence before he finished thinking it. Have the Enhalari attacked? Not yet. Then maybe they won't. Lena stared at him. Rel exhaled. That sounded stupid. Yes. You could have pretended otherwise. You asked me to trust your rescue coverage. He looked at the sheer bloom. Do humans ever soften statements? When useful. And this isn't. No. Fair enough. A warning tone interrupted them. A convoy had reached commitment approach. Rel's particle display magnified automatically. Hundreds of human vessels appeared as dark interruptions against the neutrino rain. Lena stopped talking. Even after watching departures for days, Rel felt his body tense as the formation accelerated. The outer ships crossed first. Their shadows stretched into long distortions. One after another, they disappeared. The center followed. The particle field looked as if something enormous were taking bites from reality. Then the Harrowline consumed the final ships. The display slowly brightened. Empty. Lena stared at the absence longer than necessary. People you know, Rel asked. My brother's family. Rel turned sharply. You didn't tell me. You didn't ask. You let them leave while you remain here. My assignment is final transit. Your family crossed without you. Yes. Something about her answer bothered him. Not because she sounded cold. Because she didn't. She sounded like someone who had already accepted the cost. Does that happen often? All over the fleet. And nobody objected. Everybody objected. That finally made Rel understand something. Calm was not the absence of resistance. It was what remained after resistance stopped changing reality. The first Enhalari attack did not strike a human convoy. It struck the council. Rel was halfway through a maintenance diagnostic when the emergency channel erupted. Multiple hostile signatures. Vayor threw the tactical display across the canopy. Dark shapes dropped from the debris band. Vast. Low emission. Weapons already hot. Their target was a mixed convoy of Council civilian ships approaching Morrow Scar from the western route. Merchant carriers. Refugee transports. Administrative vessels carrying observers and support staff back toward Council territory. Rel counted the hostile vectors and stopped counting. Too many. Council patrol. Out of position. Human escorts. Vayor hesitated. Final departure formation. Rel looked toward the Harrowline. The last major human escort group had already formed around the remaining civilian migration ships. Lena's voice came across the rescue channel. All non-combatants maintain departure axis. Do not scatter. Then the Inhalari opened fire. Light tore across the scar. A Council transport spun away from formation. Another lost power. Rel launched. Acceleration crushed him into his harness. Mark damaged ships. Vayor was already doing it. The first transport had lost attitude control. The second showed atmosphere venting from a ruptured compartment, but internal bulkheads were holding. A third had drifted directly toward the expanding gravitational shear. Rel fired maneuvering thrusters and drove toward it. Enhalari intercept. Vayor shouted. Rel rolled. A burst of fire passed over the canopy. His cutter wasn't built for combat. Its defensive system was designed to discourage debris, not warships. Where are our patrols? Still 7 minutes out. They'll be picking up bodies. Rel. A new formation appeared on the tactical layer. Human ships. Turning. Rel stared. No. The final human escorts were abandoning departure alignment. Lena's voice filled every open channel. Human escort group, rescue priority. Civilian departure column, maintain acceleration. We rejoin if geometry permits. Rel grabbed the transmitter. Akefer, you cannot break transit formation now. Busy Asun. You'll lose your departure window. Then help us finish quickly. Human warships accelerated past his cutter. Not toward the Harrowline. Toward the Enhalari. The first engagement lasted seconds. A human escort crossed between a raider and the crippled Council transport. Its defensive field flashed. Another human vessel drove beneath the attacker and forced it away with a concentrated burst across its propulsion arc. No grand formation. No ceremonial charge. Just ships placing themselves where incoming fire had been. Rel guided his cutter toward the damaged transport. Council ship respond. Static. Then a frightened voice. Rescue cutter, our engines are gone. I know, prepare for tow. Our reactor shielding is unstable. I know. The Harrowline. I know. He hated how much he sounded like Lena. Rel matched rotation. Magnetic rescue clamps launched from his hull and attached to the transport. The cutter lurched as the larger ship's momentum transferred through the tow system. Warning alarms filled the cockpit. Load too high, Vayor said. Counter thrust. We'll burn the maneuvering array. Then it can complain after we live. A Enhalari ship changed course toward them. Rel saw it on the particle display as a sharp moving gap. No human escort was close enough. He knew in that instant that the raider had them. Then something slammed across the Enhalari's path. Lena's navigation ship. Not a warship. A navigation ship. It dumped a cloud of transit calibration, drones directly in front of the raider. The attacker veered. Human fire struck its weapon mount. The Enhalari broke away. Lena appeared on Rel's emergency channel. Your tow angle is wrong. I am being shot at. That doesn't improve the angle. I am aware. You're pulling against the gradient. Then tell me what to do. A route marker appeared. Follow that line. Rel looked at it. That takes me closer to the shear. For a few seconds. You want me to approach the thing we're trying to escape. The gradient rotates your tow mass. Stop fighting it. Rel trusted her. He hated that too. He turned the cutter. The gravitational slope caught the damaged transport. For one terrifying moment, both ships accelerated sideways. Then the transport's spin slowed. The tow load dropped. Vayor stared at the instruments. That worked. Sound surprised later. They dragged the transport clear. Around them the battle spread. Human escorts were not destroying the Enhalari fleet. They were breaking attack runs, cutting weapon locks, forcing raiders away from civilian ships. Every maneuver had one purpose: create enough space for rescue. A council carrier transmitted a distress call from the far side of the engagement zone. Then another. Then another. The human formation fragmented deliberately, each escort taking responsibility for a different crippled vessel. Rel understood what that meant. Their combat strength was shrinking. So was their departure margin. Lena. No answer. Lena respond. Her face appeared after several seconds. A warning light pulsed behind her. What? You're losing the Haroline. I can see that. You need to disengage. There are still civilian ships inside the attack lane. They're council ships. The words left Rel before he understood how terrible they sounded. Lena went still. Rel closed his eyes. That wasn't what I meant. I know what you meant. No, you don't. I do. Her voice remained calm. You mean we're being expelled by the same governments whose citizens were delaying our own evacuation to protect? Yes. And you're wondering why? Yes. She looked away from him toward her own tactical display. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. Softer. We don't need their vote to decide who we are. Then the channel closed. Rel stared at the blank communication pane. Vayor whispered something behind him. What? Nothing. Say it. I said the council needs to hear this. Rel looked across the battle. Human ships protecting the civilians of governments that had banished them. A human navigation vessel risking the corridor to save strangers. A departure formation sacrificing the very margin that kept its people safe. Rel opened a direct priority channel. Not to security. Not to the observation office. To every council delegate whose authorization his rescue credential could reach. He transmitted raw sensor data. No commentary. No speech. No interpretation. Human escorts turning away from safety. Council civilian ships trapped under fire. Enhalari attack vectors. The shrinking Haroline window. Lena's navigation vessel entering weapons range. Rel attached one sentence. This is what your banishment looks like from here. Then he sent it. The council began reconsidering before the battle was over. Rel didn't know that until Corvin Ashk forced a connection through the overloaded relay network. The politician looked nothing like the man who had spoken to him earlier. His bronze mantle was gone. Voices thundered behind him. Asun, is your transmission current? Yes. The human fleet turned back. The escorts did. To defend council ships. You have the sensor records. Ash glanced away. Someone shouted his name. He ignored them. We're assembling an emergency reconsideration. Rel felt something close to relief. Good. How much time do we have? Rel looked toward the Harrowline. I don't know. Find out. He opened Lena's channel. She answered immediately. I'm occupied. The council is reconsidering. Silence. For the first time since Rel met her, Lena had no immediate reply. Then, reconsidering or voting? Reconsidering. Those are different words. Ashk says an emergency vote is forming. How long? Rel turned toward the politician's projection. Ashk heard the question. We are gathering delegates now. Procedure can be accelerated. Lena's expression hardened. How long? Ashk hesitated. That was answer enough. Lena closed her eyes. When they opened again, she was the departure navigator. Not the exile. Not the sister whose family had already crossed. The navigator. Rel, look at your bloom. He did. Still closed. Why? Because when it opens, our remaining safe commitment margin is gone. You can hold before that. Not the whole migration. The council may reverse the banishment. May. They're trying. I believe you. Then wait. Her face softened slightly. That's easy for you to say. Rel flinched. Lena continued. If we wait and the vote fails, we strand evacuation mass outside stable transit. It won't fail. You don't know that. Ashk. Ashk supported the first vote. The politician's face tightened. Lena saw him. She did not insult him. That somehow made it worse. We acted on the decision you made, she said. Ashk leaned toward the transmitter. Navigator Akafor, if the council rescinds the order, humanity will be permitted to remain. Permitted where? In council space. Under what status? We can negotiate that. After the vote. Yes. And until then. Ashk did not answer quickly enough. Lena nodded. Our civilian ships are moving. Stop them. We already lost departure margin rescuing yours. Rel watched Ashk absorb the sentence. The council never asked you to do that. No. Then why did you? Lena looked toward the battle outside her ship. Because they needed help. That was all. No lecture. No accusation. Rel suddenly wished she had shouted. It would have been easier for Ashk. Easier for all of them. Another alert appeared. The Inhalari were withdrawing. Council patrol vessels had finally reached the engagement zone. Human escorts broke contact immediately. Not one chased. They turned toward their evacuation formation. Rel's screen populated with revised transit vectors. Every line was tighter now. Less margin. More risk. The council had gained the time it needed to reconsider by consuming the time humanity needed to leave safely. Rel looked at the closed sheer bloom. How long? Lena checked her instruments. Not enough. Human ships began crossing again. The civilians first. Damaged escorts next. Rescue craft after them. Rel's cutter drifted near the final assembly point. The council debate screamed through his speakers. Delegates demanded recognition. Procedural objections were waived. Votes registered. Old allies of the banishment turned against it. Rel heard Ashk arguing for reversal. Actually arguing. Intent is no longer the issue, the minister said somewhere far away. We have evidence of consequence. We made a decision believing time remained under our control. It does not. A human carrier entered the Harrowline. Its particle shadow vanished. Another followed. Rel checked the bloom. Closed. The emergency vote count climbed. Another human ship vanished. Rel found himself whispering, "Come on." Vayor heard him. Which side? Rel didn't answer. He no longer knew whether he wanted the council to vote faster or the humans to leave faster. Perhaps both. Perhaps that was the tragedy. Two things could become right at the same moment and still fail to meet. Ashk appeared again. "We have the votes." Rel's chest loosened. "You passed it. Final confirmation is processing. Then send it. It isn't legally active until certification." Rel stared at him. "You have got to be joking. I cannot transmit a rescission that does not exist yet. Tell them unofficially." "I already did." Rel turned to Lena. "You heard him." "Yes." "They have the votes." "Yes." "You can stop." "No." "Lena." She looked exhausted now. Not frightened. Not angry. Just tired. "My brother crossed days ago," she said. Rel didn't understand. "What does that have to do with this?" "He crossed because the council told us our future wasn't here." "I know. My medical teams crossed, my teachers crossed, children crossed. Entire crews have spent days moving through a corridor none of us wanted to use. The vote is changing." "Yes. That matters." "It does." "Then why are you still leaving?" Lena glanced at the shrinking transit map. "Because billions of people cannot become a pause button." The last civilian group began acceleration. Rel looked at his sheer bloom. One metal leaf trembled. He froze. "Lena." "I see it." Another leaf loosened. Ashk's voice came over the channel. "Certification is nearly complete." "Nearly?" Rel shouted. Lena turned toward someone off-screen. "Final convoy commit." Rel's blood went cold. "No." The human formation accelerated. "Wait." Lena looked at him. "Rel." "They're almost done." "So are we." A third metal leaf moved. The sheer bloom began opening. Rel reached for it instinctively, as though he could force the petals shut. Lena saw him. "Don't." He stopped. The human ships entered the gravitational slope. Their neutrino shadows lengthened. On the council channel, voices shouted over one another. "Certification complete." "Transmission authorization." "Rescission approved." Rel's display flashed. "Banishment order revoked." He looked outside. The last human formation was still visible. Lena. Her ship rode near the rear of the departure group. The Haroline distorted its outline. "I have it," Rel said. "The order is revoked." Lena's face remained steady. "Good. You can come back." She looked at him for a long moment. Behind her, the transit alarms changed tone. "We can't." The sheer bloom snapped fully open. Thin metal petals spread around Rel's hand. "Permanent. Irreversible." The final human ships crossed commitment. Rel understood. Not emotionally. Not politically. Physically. The decision had arrived after the threshold. Ashk's voice whispered through the open channel. "Navigator." Lena looked toward the council projection. Perhaps she knew who he was. Perhaps not. It didn't matter. Ashk said, "The banishment has been rescinded." Lena nodded. "Then don't make the same mistake with whoever comes after us." Her transmission flickered. Rel reached toward the console. "Lena." She looked at him once more. "Keep the bloom." Then her image vanished. Outside, the The last human navigation ship stretched into a thin black absence against the neutrino rain. The hairline folded. The shadow disappeared. Humanity was gone. No one spoke on Rel's bridge. The council rescission continued broadcasting. Full legal status. Emergency restoration of access rights. Suspension of enforcement orders. Instructions for human representatives to contact the council immediately. No one answered. Veyor checked every frequency. Nothing. Rel watched the particle map. There had been so many human shadows that he had stopped seeing individual ships. Now there were none. The neutrino rain flowed through empty space. Corvin Ashk remained connected. His face had become very still. Can they receive the transmission from the other side? Rel looked at the Haroline readings. Eventually, perhaps. Can they return? No. Another transit window. Not on any schedule that matters today. Ashk lowered his head. We reversed it. Rel looked at the open sheer bloom. Yes. Then why does it feel as if we failed? Rel picked up the little device. Its petals caught the cockpit light. When Lena had first given it to him, he had thought it crude. Now it seemed brutally precise. Because you think decisions end when you change your mind. Ashk said nothing. Rel turned the bloom slowly between his fingers. Authority can cancel an order, he said. It cannot cancel the distance already traveled. The minister's projection remained silent. There was no human ambassador to summon. No delegation waiting outside the chamber. No fleet hanging beyond the council border to be welcomed home. No dramatic refusal. The council had succeeded in reconsidering its decision. That was the worst part. They had changed. They had learned. They had looked at what humanity did during the Enhalari attack and understood that fear had made them misjudge an entire species. The vote had been reversed. The injustice had been recognized. And none of it could reach backward through the Haroline. Rel closed the council channel. He remained at Morrow Scar long after rescue operations ended. Damaged council ships departed under patrol escort. Debris drones collected fragments from the battle. Traffic controllers cleared abandoned approach lanes. The region grew quiet. On the particle display, the neutrino rain gradually erased the evidence of the human evacuation. The large hollows were gone first. Then the smaller, irregular gaps left by support craft. Eventually, even the turbulent wake patterns faded. Space healed quickly. Memory did not. Rel set the open sheer bloom beside his navigation controls. He would never need it again. Probably. That had been Lena's logic. Humans kept things other species considered wasteful. He finally understood why. Some objects were not useful because they could be reused. They were useful because they could not. Outside the canopy, the last human-shaped absence filled with pale particle light. And far beyond anything the council could presently reach, humanity kept going.